Welcome everybody to our final professional development session of our summer 2022 series. I'm Danny Rubin, the founder of Rubin. We provide online instruction for business communication skills, email writing, phone calls, conversation skills, small talk, all of those important employability skills. And I appreciate you joining us today for our final summer PD on learning strategies for group dynamics and group projects. Raise your hand if you've been to one of our sessions earlier in the summer. Anybody been here previously? I know we have some folks who have been with us. And raise your hand if you're new. If you're coming in for the first time, you're new to our community. Oh, maybe not. Maybe everybody is returning, which is great. Oh, maybe a couple. And so we're going to go through a different set of topics today than we've done in the past. We've done all kinds of topics over the summer on various communication skills. And this time we're going to focus on group projects. And I'll share my screen. We'll get started in just a moment. If you're just joining us, again, please say hello. Tell us where you're from and what you plan to be teaching this year or what you're going to be advising. And love to know what you're doing so you could, make use of our material, kind of fit it into your spots, because we will be giving out resources from today like we always like to do. Let me first start by sharing my screen and pulling up some slides. As we always start with, we love to give out resources so you can take what we do today and actually use it in the classroom. And we made another Google Drive collection of resources for today. This is what we're going to be covering on the right side, not in this exact order, but we're going to cover how to set an agenda for a meeting, how to report back to a boss about the work you're doing, or maybe to teach students how to report back to you as if you're the boss or you're the CEO. Perhaps that's the way you do it in the class now anyway, on like student projects or student businesses. How to recap a conference call or a meeting, how to recap the team on a big project, both via email, and how to make sure all voices are heard in the group. So a lot of different topics here. Learning how to work in sort of face-to-face conversations, written situations, meeting frameworks, just a lot of stuff related to group projects and group dynamics. And I'm going to keep an eye on my chat. Hello, Gloria from California. Welcome. Heather Orlean, thank you for coming. So as we always do, this is how we give it out to make it easy on everybody. If you would like these resources, this is what I'd like for you to do. Go to the chat, please. Type the word interested and your email address. Okay, and if you're new to our community, what we like to always do so we can actually get to know you is set up a 5-minute phone call tomorrow, Thursday, so that we can hear from you, learn about your program, help you make sense of the content within your class or classes. So again, if you're new to us, you'll look out for an invite on your calendar for Thursday. Just a few minutes, say hello, give it to you, and let you get on your way. Either way, make sure you give us your name and your email. Name and email. And that way we can pass the instruction along. Okay. So thank you to those putting their information. I'll mention it again at the end. And so in case some folks come in a few minutes after, I'll say it a second time. But again, we'd love to give this out and allow you to use these resources in class. So go ahead and keep going with that. I'm going to go to the next slide, which is to tell you that how many of you are familiar with our virtual internship series? Any hands up for that? We've done it the last 2 years. We do our webinar series during the school year where we interview people from different jobs live, and we talk about what they do in their job and why the employability skills are important in their job. Ruby, I think you'll really enjoy these once we get them going. So we're going to come back on September 7th, a Wednesday after Labor Day, and our first one's going to be with a sports agent. That'll be really cool. Talk about what the sports agent does in his or her job. And then we're going to roll through a series of sessions throughout the fall. Thank you, Jennifer. So we will get into these topics starting in September. We'll have usually 2 a month. Other topics will include somebody who works in data analytics and someone who works in influencer marketing, and really some sort of cutting edge psychologist. A lot of really interesting jobs coming down the road with us this fall. So keep an eye out on your email. We're going to put the full schedule out probably in about 2 weeks. Okay, so look out for that. But mark your calendar now, September 7th at 1:30 Eastern, and hope you'll be able to join us. And again, we put all these sessions on YouTube, so if you can't get there, it will be on YouTube, but we love it when you're able to come live. If you're watching this on a recording, we can still send you our Google Drive free resources. Just send us an email to the email in red with the subject line of Rubin Group Project Resources, and we'll get it to you. Okay. And again, everybody here will, where do we go? Here it is. Everybody here today, we will send you this certificate tomorrow. Okay, so keep an eye out for the certificate in your email as well. We appreciate you being here live, and it really makes the experience meaningful. So Lori asked a question. What we're probably going to do, Lori, as we've done in the past, because we're having to cater to all the time zones, is we're probably going to do 12:30 Eastern and 1:30 Eastern, and then rotate those. Because if they're too early in the morning on the East Coast, then the West Coast can't get there. So we have to do it around lunchtime on the East Coast so that all different school populations can attend. So you'll expect to see 12:30 and 1:30 Eastern times, rotating between Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the fall. So again, keep an eye out for our schedule. It's coming soon, and we're really excited to roll that series out again. It's been really successful, and we always have a great attendance and great participation. So it's coming back. Okay. Now let's get into our topics for today. For those who are new to us, our company is Rubin. Our curriculum, we have an online curriculum called Emerge. Emerge is a big library of resources for employability skills, for applying for opportunities and then working in an office setting. So both sides of the coin. And I do want to tell you that we are in the process of doing a big redesign of our site. So in the coming few weeks, the way that I've been showing it all along, it's going to change for the better. We're going to have a brand new site design. We're really excited about that. It's coming soon. We're working hard every day to get it ready and launching it, hopefully in the month of August. So what we're going to do today is go through various pieces of our program. I'll keep my chat open because I want this to be a dialogue. You can throw any questions at me as we go and really just kind of talk this out. And the first thing that I want us to do is watch a video. I want us to watch a video on making sure that all voices are heard. Let me make sure my sound is on. Okay. First of all, before we get into this, I want to hear from you in the chat, or see from you in the chat. Tell me, when you do group projects, what class or club is it within? Tell me in the chat. Is it within a particular class, a CTSO? Where do you engage group projects? Thank you, Ruby, for that. That's good to know. Cosmetology, employ, all my classes, computer classes. Yeah, keep sharing. This is helpful so we can speak about this today in your context. Where else do group projects play a role? And is anybody here an advisor to a CTSO, perhaps? So I'd love for you to think about these lessons in the context of clubs as well. Okay, great. This is very helpful. You can keep it coming. We're going to watch a very short video. It's about a minute long, showing how to make sure that on a team project, everybody's voice is heard and accounted for. Because many times students can get drowned out by, as I'm sure you know, raise your hand if you've seen groups where one student has all the energy, drowns at everybody else, sort of dominates conversation, and everyone else kind of sits there, right? I'm sure you've seen it. So let's watch this video on making sure everyone has a chance to talk.
Class projects, it's important that everyone has the chance to speak and share his or her opinion. But many times that doesn't happen. Let's watch a situation where one student is left out.
Okay, so the next step in the project is to design a banner.
What color should we use for the banner?
I think we should use blue and yellow so it matches our logo.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Did you see the young man's face as the entire group kept talking about the project but left him out? He seemed discouraged and pulled away from the group conversation. Let's watch that scenario another time.
Okay, so the next step in the project is to design a banner.
What color should we use for the banner?
I think we should use blue and yellow so it matches our logo.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Sean, we didn't hear your opinion yet on logo colors. What do you think?
Well, I think that, we should go with the red and blue, to match with our school's colors.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thanks, man.
As we
Okay, hopefully that played for everybody all right. I'd love to get a little bit of feedback on that. Like, could you show that video to students at the start of group projects to remind them of making sure everyone has a chance to talk? Like when you saw that young lady the second time go out of her way to ask her classmate what he thought, what did that show you about her? What kind of word would you use to describe that young lady when she said, you know what? We haven't heard from you yet, Sean. What do you think? What does that demonstrate to you? What types of qualities would you say it demonstrates in her? Good facilitator, leadership, inclusive. I like that word. Empathy, inclusion. And those are big themes today, right? We want to teach inclusion in schools. And what we've done webinars on inclusion. And it's more than just saying like, we believe in inclusion. We believe in inclusiveness. We have to practice it, right? We have to live it out. We have to teach it. So how many of you would show this video to your students in advance of a group project as use it for discussion? Would anybody use it as a tool to show students what we want, what we don't want in a conversation? So this is what we talk about at our company in our sessions here. It's like making these big ideas like inclusion and leadership very practical, like taking it to the ground level, saying, what does it look like in just a day in, day out capacity? Okay, and that's one example. Now, I want to give you something else to think about. I think it's where to go. Here it is. Okay, I want to give you something to think about. I'd love to know if any of you are game for trying this in the fall, because it's a little outside the box, but it's almost like a social experiment to really drive home that we need to make sure every voice at the table is included. And it's like a little bit of a secret activity. Okay, here's what it is. And it doesn't take much prep or paperwork. I just want to show you what the idea. So you set up a group, let's say it's 3 students, 4 students, whatever the cluster is. And you identify one student in each group for the purpose of like a single day of group projects. You say, I don't want you to speak. I want you to stay quiet until, until somebody, I want you to stay quiet until somebody says, we haven't heard from you yet. What do you think? And it's possible that no one ever says that the other 3 people just keep talking and talking, and this one person just sits there quietly, and no one ever says, what do you think? You've been quiet. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but you let it run for 20, 30 minutes. And then you say, I don't know if you didn't know, but we were running an experiment the past half hour. And I told one person in each group not to talk on purpose to see if everyone else would notice they were not being included. And then for those that never engage that person, it's like, oh, I never even thought about that, right? I never noticed that. And that's what it means to recognize whether we're being inclusive or not, is when you say, this was going on all along and you didn't even realize it. How many of you would try this out? Again, this is something we're trying to put out new ideas and sort of new concepts into the classroom. How many of you would give this a shot and we call it like make a student the mole, right? Like they know what's going on, but everyone else doesn't. And you could discreetly tell them to be quiet and just do it for a short amount of time. I'd love to know if you do this. You can contact us and tell us how it went, because the goal with these sessions is to put material in your hands, to give you the tools to try new things or to innovate or to make these lessons real for students. And I'd love to know how that would play out. And if you feel like the light bulb would come on for students, and the next time around, they're so much more mindful of who's in that group, who has spoken, who hasn't spoken. And then the one who is aware of everybody else automatically becomes the leader of that group, because they're making sure everyone is included and accounted for. And I think it could be very powerful. So thank you to those, Lori, Mary Lee, Jeff, see a few others, Trina, Ruby, Jennifer. Yeah, eye opener. But isn't that what we want, right? Don't we want students to really feel like, wow, I learned something today. Something happened unexpected today. That's what we're after. And those moments are hard to find, right? Those aha moments where you know it's stuck. And that's really what teaching's about, and feeling like you're making an impact. So I would love for you, you could show the video, right? And even if you show it, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be aware of it, right? Even more to the point. So you can show it, talk about it, and then run a group project like you would, but have that one student in there all along who's not going to speak, and just see how this plays out. And, you can try it with different classes and different grades and see how it goes. So thank you for your willingness to come into the new year with some, new things. And I hope that gives you some energy and momentum too, to say, I have something new that I want to bring in, something I haven't tried before. And I hope that gives you something to look forward to as well. I know these school years have been tough, and I hope this year is easier than the past few for all of you. All right, so let's switch our focus from these sort of group dynamic for the moment. And something that we do a lot in our sessions is we talk about email writing. How many of you have students send emails to the team related to projects, like recapping things or sending out tasks? Anybody do sending out emails to the team, or emails to people out, involved in the project, out in the community or in the school? Is there anybody here working with email writing or just general organizational skills? Let me make sure these little screens don't keep showing up. All right, so let's talk about, we have this little highlight bar, which is helpful when it's working and things aren't popping up all over the place. Thank you, Denise. So let's talk about sending an email to recap the team on a project. There's a strategy which they can take right from school, right from high school, into college or the workplace. Okay. This is a real world sort of office, management professional skill that will help them as they learn it at a young age. So the first thing is that subject line. Look in that subject line. Updates on what? What are those two words on the end of that subject line in quotes? I know it's a rhetorical question, but just write it for me. What are those two words on the end? Project what? What are we saying in that subject line? There's a lot of strategy to every part of an email. So we are saying updates on Project Alpha, right? Well, why are we doing that? Why are we saying the name of the project in the subject line, as opposed to, and I'm sure we could talk all day about this, when students either leave the subject line blank or they put the whole email in the subject line like it's one long unending text message, right? I'm sure you all deal with that. So thank you, Lori. Reminding others what the project is about. That, yes. And this is like almost like another little psychological trick. If you're looking at your crowded inbox of 1 million emails, and they're probably piling up right now, but don't look at it. Okay, stay with me right now. The emails will be there when you come back, unfortunately. When you see a word in the subject line that you recognize, like it's your own name, your school, your project, your company, your organization, whatever it is, as soon as you see a word, you're more likely to stop on that email and open it than an email with words that do not connect with you. Why? And tell me in the chat, why do we stop on emails that with words we recognize? Why do we do that? What is it about that email that makes us stop? Any ideas? And as you respond, thank you. It's familiar. There's already like trust in our brain. So we want students to use subject lines with words that relate to the project or the school or the program or the team. Proper nouns carry a tremendous amount of weight in the professional world. I talk a lot about adjectives don't mean much. Vague language goes away. Proper nouns stick. So we name the project. Hi, everyone. I have several updates about Project Alpha, and I will lay them out as clearly as I can. Now, here's another, group dynamic technique. when there's something that is most important, should you put the most important thing at the top of the email or the bottom? Which one do you think? Top or bottom? Tell me in the chat. Should the most important information go at the top or at the end? I'm seeing a lot of top. Exactly. But many times in emails, we put the most important thing at the bottom. For example, if we're asking somebody to meet with us for networking, for advice, we often ask at the very end. And there's an expression in the military called bottom line up front, BLUF. Put your most important information right away. Make sure that nobody misses it. So it says, we've been given strict orders from upstairs to have the first trial phase completed by March 23rd. That's most important. That's the top news. That's your quote. And I used to work in journalism. I was a TV reporter. That's your lead story. You don't put the lead story 12 minutes in. It's the first 5 seconds. Then all the additional tasks, what's going on here? What are these items that I'm highlighting with my mouse? What are these? What's going on this left side? How are they organized? What's going on over here? Tell me in the chat. What's this? I didn't just put one giant paragraph of everything. I used bullets. I used a list to separate thoughts. I know you see emails from students and probably from a lot of adults where the email is one giant paragraph. Any hands up for seeing emails like that? You open the email and it's just one paragraph. There is no spacing. There are no breaks. And as soon as you see that, you're like, I'm not reading it. There's no way I'm reading that. You close it, you say, I'll read it later, and you forget. Or you don't want to, because it's like, I can't even process each sentence. I keep losing where I am in the paragraph. It's like hard to even read it. I call them novel emails. That's great. I'm going to steal that, Denise. Thank you. Not they are. Right? So instead, we put our thoughts in bullets. And also, what do you see over here in bold? What are we bolding? We're bolding their names. Why would we do that? Why would we bold their names? So they don't miss the work that they need to do. Regina says she'll continue to work on the glitch whenever we try to put the program into sleep mode. Donald, we have an updated analytics report. Yes. So we use bullets and we highlight names or anything else that's really important, but mostly names. And again, just goes back to when you see your name written out, you're gonna stop on it. It's like this phenomenon. Have you ever been in a crowded room, very loud, but someone says your name from across the room? Do you hear your name in that crowded, noisy room? Do you hear it? Somehow you hear your name above the din of all the other noise. It's an amazing thing because we know our name, we love our name, and we hear it. And so when we see our name bolded, we stop on it. So we use bullets and we use bold selectively. We don't want the whole thing in bold, then that's also annoying. And it loses its impact. But when used sparingly, it's powerful. Okay, so we have the subject line with the key term. We have our biggest news at the top. Everything else is bulleted and the names are highlighted. If you can help your students to write project recap emails this way, then they will be a step ahead of even people in the workplace. And as they start to work in a job, they will already be identified as people with great organizational skills. And people with great organizational skills, what happens to them in a workplace? If you're the most organized, put together, on your game person, do you end up becoming the person who ends up in a leadership position? What do you think? Yes or no? If you're organized, have your act together, a clear communicator, would it help you become a leader in the organization? Yes. So these skills apply directly to leadership, right? And again, we say the word leadership. We want to teach leadership in our schools. Well, there's a sneaky amount of leadership in an email like this, because this email says, I am a leader. And I am someone others can follow because I will help guide everyone to the end of that project through this next challenge. Okay. And this email will be provided as one of those free resources, so you can use it with students as a guidepost as they are writing their own messages. All right. Now let's go to a different scenario. Sorry, second, there we go. Let's go to a different situation. How do you report back? So you're not just writing to your team now, you're writing to your boss, to an executive. Are executives busy people? Do they not have a lot of time to sit and deal with whatever you're working on? Do they just need like the top level, high level information of what's happening? Generally, yes, right? They don't have the time to read a huge report. They don't have time to talk for an hour about what's going on. They need to know like just the essentials, right? So they can then take that information and do their job. And there's frankly not enough in schools of teaching the idea that less is more. Has anybody heard that expression before? Less is more. We often teach students to write long-winded essays for English class, and I'm not knocking that. We have to learn to write sort of longer writing as well. But when you get into the business world, it's the opposite. We want it as quickly as possible, as succinctly as possible. So we need to be teaching students how to communicate on both levels in the classroom. That's right, clear and concise is best. And so this email gives us a look at how to write very, very clearly to a busy person, somebody who may be your superior and can then view you as a potential leader in your own right. So let's go to that subject line and, oh, what do we got again? Some key words, right? July summary for Project Alpha. Key words, not writing summary or update or checking in, but we're using key words, proper nouns. It looks more professional anyway, and that you have your act together as you're writing to someone who is above you. Good morning or good, first of all, you address your superior or your team. Good morning or good afternoon. I'm passing along July updates for Project Alpha. This is again, these are some sort of next level moves, but I think it's great to teach students this at early ages. You know, here are some quick updates for the project. If you want a full report, I'm linking it here. So what are we doing here? We're saying, I know you're busy. I am valuing your time. I'm giving you the high notes right here, just like the top level, biggest items now. If you want more, I'm linking it to you. Not necessary, but it's just a way to say, I know you're busy. And I'm not going to put the whole report in this email. But if you want more, it's here. But in the email, I'm going to give you just what you need to know. Below, I share the 3 biggest takeaways and what's to come. So we're saying, here's what I've done. Here's what I'm about to do. All right, so it just completely updates the executive on what's going on right now. Because the biggest thing that a boss wants to know, they don't necessarily want to know like all the little tasks. They just want to know like, where is the project at large, right? So they can have the peace of mind and they don't have to be coming around and micromanaging. So here are the three takeaways. We found customers are 74% more likely to upgrade our premium model if we lock in the rate for 2 years instead of 1. That's like, here's the takeaway in 1 sentence. Here's something we learned or did or found out. And then 2 more takeaways like that. 1 or 2 sentences. Here are the 3 biggest things you need to know right now that we have accomplished. And then the 3 things we're about to do next. It could be more than 3, but things always go nicely in 3s. All right. And if you have more to say, you have more to say. But this is just a model. Okay. Then we're going to, coming up, we're going to determine social media targeted advertising on past clients as a way to bring them back. And then 2 more things we're going to do. All right. So we're saying what we've done and what we're about to do. And in that succinct message, you could read this. How long would it take you to read this email? Tell me how many seconds or minutes. How long would it take you to read this? Tell me in the chat. If you read it with just these 3 updates, 3 next steps, how long would it take? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I'm saying a lot of 30. That's what we want, right? Boom, 30 seconds. I know what's going on. My employees on top of things. Look what they've already accomplished. Look what they're about to do. I got it read. I'm up to speed. I can move on with my day. How many of you could have students practice sending this kind of email to you? Any hands up for that? Could they practice sending an email like this to you as the executive, the boss? So what you're really doing, you know, plenty of people spend a lot of money going to school for an MBA, you know, that business master's degree. And I assure you that in those classes, they aren't teaching this, right? They're not teaching the basics of the day in, day out, how to communicate on a team, how to communicate in the world of work. You can give students skills that people pay over $100,000 for these degrees and they don't learn this stuff. You can give it to them right now. I'm giving you the examples. So they can go out into any job and they will be the best communicator on that team, and they will be identified early as someone with leadership potential. It's just how it goes. All they have to do is communicate better than the next person, which isn't hard today, and they will be identified as somebody with talent and potential. And that's what we want for all of our students. And when we talk about equity, okay, I know you all mentioned inclusion. How many of you have equity as a cornerstone of your teaching and your school division or your state? Equity is a big deal. And these examples teach equity because you're giving students skills they might not ever have otherwise, or never learn at home or in any other context. And if you can teach them to communicate on this level, you allow them to access opportunity they may not have had otherwise. So there is equity woven into everything we're doing today. And especially in these sort of inner office messages, which to us is just like one more email we have to write. But again, we are being judged and assessed and sized up all the time at every phase of our lives and careers. And this is a moment to say, wow, this young man, young woman, they are really sharp. And I can already see how far they can go with us just based on how they're communicating. They can say, I learned that in so-and-so's class, right? You want them to look back and say, I learned that in so-and-so's class. It was 10 years ago and I still use it today, right? Isn't that the ultimate? When they're still using something you taught them, that's the best. Okay. So a couple of writing skill activities. Now let's look at something else sorry, one more of these little screens that popped up. How many of you help students to facilitate team meetings or like group meetings, specifically for like organizations like CTSO, student council? Do you ever have students work to create an agenda? Does anybody do agenda setting? We're learning how to set the agenda. Actually, let me get on. I need to go to another screen. One moment. All right. We're going to look at a sample agenda. And again, you're going to see how we prioritize information to respect everyone's time. I can't emphasize that enough. Good communication is respecting your audience in any form the audience might take. Let's look at a sample agenda. Okay. The name of the organization, the date, and then we're gonna, this is very short here, but just for the purpose of demonstration, let's discuss what's going on here. First of all, we're going to review the last meeting's notes and anything from last time. You got to reach back to the last meeting and bring yourself up to the present day. So you start with what happened before, and you can, approve the minutes or whatever if you use parliamentary procedure, however you're running meetings, but you start with last time. Then we're going to think about how much time every item is going to take. We prioritize the agenda based on how much time we think, and there's no guarantee because conversations can, go different directions in meetings. But we start with what we think is going to take the least amount of time to the most amount of time. And there's a strategy to that because we want to make sure whatever might take the most time, we save time for that discussion. And we don't go so long with the first thing that we run out of the smaller things. We get the smaller things out of the way. and then the broader conversation. So we would first say, for example, updates on roles and responsibilities, making sure everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, this task, that task, running through committees or assignments or projects, sort of the block and tackle, the littler things. Okay, then we're going to talk about an ongoing project that may require some conversation. So we're going into like, you do this, you're responsible for this, this, and this, checking in on committees, on projects, on things, then discussing a project at large that might require some discussion. And then if there's something bigger you want to talk about, like you want to take the group in a new direction, you want to reevaluate priorities, something that's going to have a little more weight to it or require, as we talked about, all voices, right? Everyone weighing in on like what direction we should go or what should we spend our money on, that comes last. So that you get everything else out of the way and you save as much time as possible for the big sort of, the big idea, the big question, the big discussion. You do that after everything else is behind you. And so for the students who are setting those meetings, I hope this also gives you a guide to say, how can I stack my meeting so that I am thinking about saving time for the big stuff, but also raise your hand if you've ever been in a meeting that goes way past the meeting time. Isn't that the worst? And everyone knows it. They say the meeting's from 2 to 3 and you hit 3 o'clock and you're not done and everyone wants to leave, right? And everyone's thinking about it, but it goes 3:05, 3:10. Everyone's like looking at their watch and like shuffling around and wants to leave. We've all been there. We've all been in meetings that go too long. And sometimes it's inevitable, but it's the role of the leader to manage the clock and to say, you know what, sometimes this conversation is sometimes it's too big or it's too off topic. And you say, you know what, I want to stay on our agenda. We can discuss that offline, or you two can talk about it separately, or we have to manage the clock. And we have to be aware of that end time as much as we can and make sure we save time for big discussion. So the role is you set the agenda and you stick to the agenda and you do your best to stick to time. And to be a good leader on a group project is to say, sometimes, you know what, we can't talk about this all day. We have other things to get to. We're going to discuss it next time, or I want you two to talk about it off there on the side and report back to us. Like that's effective group project management. And we can be teaching those skills at an early age. So again, one more idea to hold on to and one more little guide to receive after today. I want to talk about one more little topic, and then we'll end a little early, still give you the full hour, but we'll end a little early, give you some time back, and let you get on with your morning. I'm sure you've got a million things to do. One other idea that I'd love for you to add in to your year, and this could be a great icebreaker to start the year, is again, teaching students how to truly hear each other, be inclusive, listen to each other. It's very easy. You pair students off and you have them practice a networking exchange or a small talk exchange. But here's the key. You have one student for about 3 minutes. They're only allowed to ask the other person, their partner, questions about themselves, like what'd you do over the summer? Where'd you go? If the student says, I went on a really cool vacation, they say, where did you go on vacation? What did you do on your vacation? They're not allowed to say, oh, I went on vacation too. Let me tell you about mine. In those 3 minutes, their focus is learning about somebody else and asking follow-up questions. We talk about those a lot in our webinar series. Ask follow-ups. If they're excited to talk about their vacation, you give them all the time about their vacation. That's all you want to know about, is what they did, not about you at all. So for 3 minutes, it's all about one person. Then you pause, they change roles, and then they learn about the other person. Then they ask questions the other direction. So they each get 3 minutes, really having to stay in the moment and think of follow-up questions. And the end goal is to teach them to be good, active listeners and to have to think hard about staying in the discussion and showing someone you care about what they think and care about. You're interested in them, And by extension, they would then become interested in you because you've shown you care and you value them. You show that you're interested in what they're all about, what their passions are, their hobbies. That can go a very long way in terms of being inclusive, especially for students who may feel isolated and that nobody cares. Raise your hand if you've ever seen this. You have a really introverted student, never likes to talk, but if you get them talking about something they like talking about, they will go on forever. Have you ever seen that? Any hands up for that? All the time, right? Once you get somebody, once they feel like the other person cares who they are and what they're about, they will open up. And I would love for you to try this little exercise early in the year if possible. You can mix up the pairs. You can do it as many times as you want. It takes 10 minutes to do. It's so easy, but it teaches inclusiveness. It helps everybody come out of their shell. It teaches active listening, the power of curiosity, critical thinking, everything. Where might you try this little icebreaker out? Can you tell me in the chat? You can wrap up on this idea. Where might you try this little icebreaker where you have them learn to ask each other questions and learn to take in genuine interest? Christine says any class. That's probably right. This could be anywhere, any age, a morning meeting, first day of class. Please try this. It's so powerful. And it will make some students initially a little uncomfortable because they're not used to truly caring about somebody to this extent. But this is what it means to grow up and to learn how to actually care about somebody else and to use our brain to have to listen for cues and take it further. So I would love for you to try that too. So lots of little things to take back to school that I hope that you're able to make your own and teach it in your own way, right? You have your own style, and I'm not going to mix that up. You know what you do, and you do it very well. I want to just give you new things to add to your toolkit so you can make it part of your rhythm in the year and give students thinking in ways they never would have thought before. That's right. Shy students need that growth. We all need that growth. And think about all the places in your life where you could have the confidence to talk to people and ask them questions. Social functions, conferences, meetings, elevator rides, I mean, everywhere. Just last night, I'm flying back from North Dakota. I'm sitting at a restaurant in the airport in Minneapolis. I start talking to the person next to me. We're having dinner at the bar. It's like, right, shoulder to shoulder. And I learned that he runs like all the technology and all the like new web projects for the Mayo Clinic. We all know Mayo Clinic, M-A-Y-O, unbelievable jobs, incredibly smart guy. And he actually gave me some guidance on one of my own projects for our company. So, because I kept asking him questions and he's a very important guy. He probably, didn't want to deal with random airport people. But once I started asking him about his job and showing I was interested, he just kept talking and giving me advice and sharing stuff. And you probably didn't want to talk to me when we first sat down. I don't blame him. I'm just a stranger. But I showed that I am interested in what he does. And so he was excited to tell me about it. And we were just two strangers. And now we're LinkedIn connections. And I could ask him questions down the road about projects. I'm sure he'd answer me because he knows I'm genuinely interested in the work that he does. Does this make sense? Any hands up for what I just said? Like, you can take this skill into the world and it will open your world. But we can teach it to students right now and we can change their lives for the better from this day on. So that's just one little final point I wanted to put on our session today. Now, let me wrap up the way I started. I know some folks came in a bit after I said it. So everything we covered today is all in a free Google Drive folder. Everything we just went over, you can have. And I want you to have it. I mean, I want you to use this stuff, okay? And like, make it your own, make it real. So if you'd like these resources and you didn't request it at the start, go to the chat right now, type the word interested and your email address. If you missed it, type the word interested and your email address. And if you are new to our community, we have not spoken before, then we will send you an invite on your calendar for just a few minutes tomorrow to explain what it is and help you make sense of the material in your classroom. Okay, so interested in your email and we will pass it along. Again, I mentioned that we have our virtual internship series coming back on September 7th. We do these twice a month in the school year, talking with professionals live in Zoom for 45 minutes in about their job and why you need to be a good communicator in every single job. Construction, the trades, engineering, all these jobs you think, oh, it's just technical work. No, no, no. You have to write and speak all the time. So keep an eye on your email. We're going to put our full schedule out in a couple of weeks, but mark your calendar right now for September 7th, 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific. Again, if you're watching this on a recording, you can email us at the email in red with the subject line below. We will send you these resources just the same. And everybody here today live, we will send you a certificate tomorrow, Thursday. So keep an eye on your email for the recording from today and the certificate. And I just want to remind the group of a couple of pages while I have you. This first page is our YouTube channel where we have all, if you go to the playlist tab, you'll see we have all of our different virtual internship and summer PDs organized by playlist. And also this page has also all of our previous recordings. Oh, it got, let me throw it in there one more time. A few folks commented, which you're fine to do. So this link has all of our previous recordings and organized by pathway. All of our webinars by pathway, might be even easier. And we're going to put our full schedule there too. I would recommend you bookmark both of these pages so you have them. I saw a couple of questions. The recording, I saw Sarah, you had a power outage. The recording will come out on Thursday morning. So tomorrow morning, look out for the email with that. And yes, Denise, if you watch it on a recording and you'd like the certificate, just email us and we'll give you the certificate after the fact. Okay, so you're welcome to do that. And let's see, okay, I think I got all the questions. Are there any other questions right now about our webinars, certificates, anything coming up? Throw it in the chat right now. You can always email us as well. Again, we have lots more content to come this fall. We're excited to kick that off. But we appreciate you being part of our summer series, which is really just for educators. Although you can share, you can play the webinar for students, is no big deal. But hopefully you were all able to gain some new ideas and some PD hours this summer. And we'll look forward to seeing you all in just a few weeks in our webinar series with students and get the students back in these conversations, which is always fun. So thank you all very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of whatever summer you have left. If you haven't already started school, many schools have, but we appreciate you, and we'll see you in a few weeks.